Welcome back, Atlanta Raichus fans. It is your boy Playmaker here, and today we have the semifinals of the TBL, the Twitch Battle League, and we are playing the St. Louis Charizards, coached by Hefnassi. And I will tell you, this battle was insane. It was one of the most difficult battles I've had all season, and you're going to see why. So I lead off with the Alolan Ninetales, and he leads off with the Araquanid, and this time I brought the Hail, so I can actually get an Aurora Veil up this time. So I go ahead and get the Aurora Veil up, and he, in return, hits me with a Liquidation. I think he just wants to get the Alolan Ninetales out of the way as quickly as possible, and I don't blame him. And this actually did about a third, and he gets a defense drop, and he already knows I'm going to switch at this point, but he still is going to go for another Liquidation, and the Sticky Web. He goes for the Sticky Web, that's right. And as soon as he got the Sticky Web up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible, because my Greninja will be slowed down by the Sticky Web, and that thing was supposed to do a lot of the work. And I don't have Defog either. And so I go in for the Acid Armor, and the Lucario comes in, and then he actually goes for the Z move here. And I think he just forgot that I had the Aurora Veil up. And not only that, I also had a +2 defense boost. But at the same time, I was thinking, wait, maybe this is a special Lucario, and it went for a Shadow Ball Z move. And oh my gosh. And thankfully, it was on the physical side, just based on the damage that it put out there. And I'm just going to start hitting this thing as much as possible. I hit it with a Psychic, and I'm pretty sure he's switching out here, but nevertheless, we see the switch into Tapu Fini. And so yeah, he gets up the Misty Surge, and I'm just going to fire off another Psychic, get as much damage off on this thing as possible. And I actually am calcing this thing, and I'm just like, okay, well, I can actually kill this thing a lot faster if I go for another Calm Mind. And so, because I'm thinking that he actually will probably want to go for that stupid Nature Madness Z move. But then I was like, oh, wait, well, he already used a Z move on the Lucario, so maybe that's not what he wants to do. But whatever, we're going to go for Calm Mind. He goes for the Taunt, catches me off guard, and we at least are getting leftover recovery, and he gets a knockoff, so no more leftover recovery. And I'm just going to start killing this thing with Psychic, because that's the best way to... we just have to get rid of this Tapu Fini for us to execute our plan. And so he goes for a Surf, and that does Diddly Squat. So we're going to keep battling this thing till this thing dies. And then the Aurora Veil goes away, so I'm like, oh no. And I don't have my Recover anymore, so I just have to keep going for Psychic on this thing. And so you're going to see that it's so close to KOing. And that just... it was heartbreaking. But anyways, he goes for Surf, and yeah, he has me down to half, and I just go for Psychic, and that will be the end of the Tapu Fini. So that is like the biggest wall out of the way. Like, that is huge for us. And so the Landorstarian comes in, and he's going to go for a U-turn, and this does a lot. Like, it does over a quarter non-stab with a +2 acid armor, and it still does over a quarter. Like, golly, like, Landorstarian needs to go to Uber. I'm so fed up with this thing. And at this point, I try to go for the Recover, but for some reason he outsped me. And even after the match, he told me he didn't have any speed investment. So I'm wondering, like, why did the Araquanid outspeed the Reuniclus? Because they're both 30 speed from what I know. Maybe I just wasn't thinking it through, and maybe they're not both 30 speed. I thought they were both 30 speed. But anyways, there's not much I can set up on to get up the Aurora Veil, and this is the slowest thing on his team, so I have to set up Aurora Veil against the Araquanid. Like, that's the only way, and I'm going to take another third of damage. And so I'm going to switch out, go into the Hitotsumi Giant, or Snorlax, and his Liquidation is not going to do anything. And so my plan is just to get a Body Slam off. He doesn't have Tapu Fini anymore, so there's a chance that we paralyze whatever comes in. So that's the plan. Even if he brings in Landorus and gets an Intimidate drop, if we get that para, then we're going to be in great shape. So he's going to switch into Landorus, and we're going to get a -1 attack from the Intimidate, and we're going to fire off a Body Slam, and it does a good, decent amount of damage, especially for being -1 attack, but we don't get the para, and that was heartbreaking because this thing just needed to get slowed down somehow so I can set up some more. So I bring in the Alolan Ninetales because that thing's already about to just die anyways, and so, you know, I'm cool with it. And he goes for the Brick Break, gets rid of the Aurora Veil. How does this thing get Brick Break and Greninja doesn't get Brick Break? That's what I want to know. Like, I don't see this Landorus breaking any bricks. You know, it's got like 4 claws. But whatever. Now, we bring in our Mimikyu, and so at this point, I just want to get off a Shadow Claw because I'm going to take a hit no matter what, because it's a Landorus. And if he wants to bring in the Ditto, then it's going to die to Shadow Claw. If he wants to bring in the Araquanid, it's going to die in 2 hits. Or anything he brings in will die in 2 hits. So I get off 1 Shadow Claw, and we're still faster than this thing. So we're going to get off another Shadow Claw. And yeah, so we're Life Orb, so we're going to take some Life Orb damage. And this is a very key play here, because if he has the Bullet Punch, I lose. Like, I lose my Mimikyu, and it's game over. And I thought that's why he brought this thing in. Or maybe he thinks he can live a Shadow Sneak, but let's see. I just go for the Shadow Sneak, and we kill it, thankfully. And now we can switch in our Gligar, which is our answer to this thing, and he's going to go for a Dragon Dance here after he Mega Evolves, and this was bittersweet because Mega Charizard is one of the first Mega Pokemon that I was really attached to, and it was just my go-to every time until it became like mainstream, and I was like, I don't want to be like freaking Alon and just be super mainstream about it. And in any case, we're going to just fire off an Earthquake, because the thing is, Toxic would not have done enough. Like, I just need this thing as low as possible so Mimikyu can come in and Shadow Sneak it, because otherwise the toxic damage would not have accumulated fast enough for that to happen. So that's why I kept going for Earthquake. And this is the first time I actually saw Roost on Hef's Charizard X. And I think he just opted for that because he didn't need the Dragon Claw on the standard set because I have so many fairy types, which is smart on his part. And I send in my Mimikyu again because it can just Shadow Sneak, and we're just going to hit it with whatever we can hit it with. So he sends in the Landorus, And so this thing will die in 2 hits to Shadow Sneak because of how low it had gotten from before. So that was lucky for me because this Landorstarian was a huge threat, and I needed it out of the way. So he brings in the Ditto, and part of me knew he had to go for the play rough because he would have otherwise been locked into a ghost move, and I had a Snorlax in the back that would have been able to set up on it freely. But I didn't need Greninja anymore in this battle because it didn't. My Greninja doesn't have priority, and it's not like the Greninja would have been able to do much anyways. So he misses the play rough. It would not have mattered because my Snorlax could have just started setting up curses on a -1 attack Mimikyu, and it was going to be game over anyways. But let's show off this Acid Downpour, this Gunk Shot, Poisonium Z, and that just kills it in 1 hit. And now he's going to bring in the Mega Charizard X, and yeah, I guess he was anticipating a possible switch into the into the Snorlax, and I was like, I'm not, I'm not gonna get fancy. I just want the win, and yeah, so we're just gonna Shadow Sneak, and that is going to be the game. And so Mimikyu is the MVP of the match. It killed 3 things with Shadow Sneak, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. And yeah, I actually wasn't expecting Mimikyu to be the MVP of this match. I thought it was going to be either Reuniclus or Snorlax or Greninja. But I'm glad Mimikyu came through because Mimikyu's awesome. I love Mimikyu. This Mimikyu is definitely one of those Pokemon that I haven't used enough in the TBL, but I think that I should have been using it a little bit more. But we had triple fairy on our team. We have 3 fairy types on our team, which is crazy. We have the Mega Mawile, we have the Mimikyu, and we have the Alolan Ninetales. So I don't really bring all 3 of them on a team at once. Like, I just think that's a little counterintuitive. And for example, if Hef had a bullet punching Lucario, then we would have been in even more trouble. So, yeah, and so I was actually really lucky that Hef didn't bring bullet punch Lucario. Otherwise, we would have lost that game. But nevertheless, we came out on top with a W, and the Atlanta Raichus are now in the finals against Tishen, who is the coach of the Orange City Orangaroos. And this is going to be a tough match because Tishen's a great battler, and he has beaten some very intimidating opponents, and he would not have gotten to the finals if he wasn't a good battler. And just looking at his team, he has a lot of offensive firepower as well as a really fat Cresselia that I just need to make sure I'm able to get rid of as soon as possible in the match. But we'll see what he ends up bringing. He actually doesn't have a really big standard. He doesn't have a pattern for the most part of what he brings. He usually brings a little bit of everything each week. So that's actually that just shows the strength of a really well drafted team. So in any case, that 15-minute mark is about to come up. So I have to get out of here, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to tune in for the team builder and for the finals of the TBL. I'm Playmaker, your coach for the Atlanta Raichus, signing out. Pieces.